Number 1 says Trevor needs a new bicycle tire. His tire has a circumference of 112 inches. What is the diameter of his tire round to the nearest tenths place? When we look in our problem, we see that we are given the circumference. So the circumference of this is 112. And then the question is asking what is the diameter? So we need to find diameter. Well, since we're given circumference, we are going to start with that formula. The formula for circumference is C equals pi times diameter. Well, I know that the circumference is 112, so I'm going to substitute that in for C in my formula. We know that we also are using 3.14 for pi, and then we are multiplying that by the diameter, which is unknown. Now, this is an equation that I can solve by getting d by itself. To get d by itself, I need to divide by 3.14 on both sides of this equation. When I divide 112 by 3.14, you'll notice that we get a very long number, but our problem tells us to round to the nearest tenths place. So when I round this to the nearest tenths place, I get approximately 35.7. So the diameter is approximately 35.7 inches. Number 2 says Jean's frying pan is 14.5 inches in diameter. So we know the diameter of this frying pan. The question asks, what is the circumference of his frying pan? So we are looking for circumference. Well, we are going to start by using the circumference formula. So C equals pi times diameter. This time we don't know the circumference, we know the diameter. So we can plug in 3.14 for pi, and according to the problem, the diameter is 14.5. So we're going to multiply 3.14 times 14.5. When we do that, we get 45.53. Now, normally that would be a perfectly acceptable answer, except that this problem specifically asks us to round to the nearest tenths place. If we round this to the nearest tenths place, then it's going to be approximately 45.5. And of course, this is measured in inches. So the circumference of this frying pan is approximately 45.5 inches. Number 3 says Brad is putting up a 10-foot diameter circular flower garden in his yard. So we know that his flower garden has a 10-foot diameter. He is going to put plastic edging along the flower bed. Part A says how many feet of edging will Brad need to enclose his flower garden? And then it asks us to round to the nearest tenths. Well, this one does not specifically tell us whether we are looking for circumference or area, so we need to figure out what this is talking about. If Brad is putting edging around the flower bed, that means it's going all the way around the outside. So if I'm going all the way around the outside of a circle, would that be measured using area or circumference? Since circumference is the distance around a circle, that is what we're going to use for this. So we're going to use the formula for circumference, which is C equals pi times diameter. Well, we know that pi is going to be 3.14, and according to the problem, the diameter is 10. So we are going to multiply 3.14 times 10, which gives us 31.4. And this is measured in feet. Now for this one, I don't have to do any rounding because it's already stopping at the tenths place. So I am just going to use 31.4 for my circumference. Part B asks how many square feet of land are in Brad's garden? Well, again, this doesn't tell us if we are being asked for area or circumference. But when we talk about square units, whether it's square feet, square inches, square centimeters, whatever it is that we're measuring, when they are measured in square units, that is always area. So that means we are going to use area to solve this problem. Well, we know that the formula for the area of a circle is area equals pi times radius squared. The problem with this is that if we go back to our problem, we were not given the radius. We were given the diameter. But if we know that the diameter is 10 feet, then we know that the radius is 5 feet because the radius is half the diameter. So I'm going to take this 5 and plug it into my formula. So area equals pi, which is 3.14 times 5 squared. Well, I would always do my exponents first, so I'm going to do 5 squared. Remember that 5 squared means 5 times 5, which is 25. So I'm doing 3.14 times 25. And when I multiply that, I get 78.5. Well, this is already stopping at the nearest tenths place, so I don't need to round, but I do need to put my units. So this is measured in feet, but since it's area, it's measured in feet squared, or square feet, which is what the question was asking us for. Number 4 says Kelsey bought a circular rug that is 12 feet in diameter. The rug has a blue border and a red circular center that is 4 feet in diameter. What is the area of the blue border? Round to the nearest tenths place. Well, there is actually a lot going on in this problem, and the best way to figure this out is to actually draw yourself a picture. So if we have a circular rug, we know that the whole rug has a diameter of 12 feet. But we also know that there is a blue border and a red center, and the red center has a 4-foot diameter. So that means that there is a red center right here that has a 4-foot diameter. The question asks, what is the area of the blue border? Well, remember, area is the space that it takes up. So this is wanting to know what is the area of this piece all around the outside. To find this, I need to take the area of the whole circle. So I'm going to take the area of the rug, and I'm going to take away the area of the center because I don't need to know that part. That is not part of my border. So I'm going to take away the area of the center, and that is going to give me the area of my border. Now that means that I have to do several steps here. So let's first start with the total area of the rug. Well, I know that the formula for area is pi times radius squared. Well, this did not give me the radius, it gave me the diameter. But if the diameter of the rug is 12, then that means that the radius is half of that. So the radius is 6. So I'm going to plug in 6 for radius, so this will be 3.14 times 6 squared. Well, 6 squared means 6 times 6, which is 36. So I'm multiplying 3.14 times 36. When I do that, I'm going to get 113.04 feet squared. Now, I know that the problem tells me to round to the nearest tenths place, but I'm not actually going to round yet. I want to round once I get to my final answer. So this was the area of my total rug. So that would be the space that took up the entire circle. But I don't need the whole circle. Remember, I just need this outside part. So I need to take away the middle part so that I can figure out what I'm left with. So we're going to find the area of the center. We're still using the area formula, which is pi times radius squared. Well, again, our center was not given the diameter, or was not given the radius. It was only given the diameter. So if the diameter is 4, that means the radius is half of that. So the radius of the center is 2. So we're going to plug in 2 for radius. So 3.14 times 2 squared. Well, 2 squared means 2 times 2, which is 4. So this is 3.14 times 4, which is 12.56. So the area of the center is 12.56 feet squared. Now to find the area of the border, which is this outside part, I am going to take the total area and subtract the middle area from it. So my area of my border is going to be 113.04, which was the whole rug, minus 12.56, which was the center, which gives me an area of 100.48. And of course, that's in feet squared. Well, now that I do have my final answer, I want to make sure that I do remember to round this to the nearest tenths place, which I would not do unless I was specifically told in the problem, but this problem does tell me to do that, so I need to. So that means that I'm going to round this to approximately 100.5 feet squared. Number 5 says Macy measures a truck's tire mark for one complete revolution as 128.48 inches long. What is the diameter of the tire? Well, let's think about what this means. When I say revolution, that means one full spin around. Well, if the tire spins all the way around and she measures that tire mark from start to finish, that is measuring the whole distance around that tire. So that means that for this, we are looking for circumference. So we are going to use the circumference formula, which is C equals pi times diameter. Well, for this, we are actually told that the circumference is 120.48. So I am going to plug that in for C. I'm going to put in 3.14 for pi, and what I don't know is the diameter. Now to get my diameter by itself, I'm going to divide by 3.14 on both sides of this equation. Now I'm again going to get a very long answer for this. It's approximately about 38.369, and it goes on from there, but that would be my diameter. But the problem does ask me to round to the nearest tenths place. So if I round this to the nearest tenths place, it's going to be 38.4 inches. So the diameter for this is approximately 38.4 inches. Now everybody go to page 38. Number 6 says, in a park, a sidewalk is built around the edge of a circular garden as shown below. The sidewalk is 5 feet wide and the garden measures 20 feet across. So what is the circumference of the outer edge of the sidewalk? Well, if the question is asking for circumference, then we need to start with our circumference formula, which is C equals pi times diameter. Well, we need to look in our problem and see what the diameter is. Well, when I look at this circle, I know that I need to find the total distance across. So I need to find the measurement from here to here. The biggest mistake that people make is to say that this measurement is 25 feet, but that is wrong because the distance from here to here is 20 feet, and then the distance from here to here is 5 feet. But we are forgetting about this piece right here. This piece is also 5 feet, which means that the total distance across this circle is 5 plus 20 plus 5. So that means that the diameter for the whole circle is 30 feet. And that's what we need to plug into our formula. So our formula is going to be pi 3.14 times diameter, which is 30. When I multiply 3.14 times 30, I get 94.2 feet. And since this is already rounded to the nearest tenths place, I can stop and leave it just like that. Part B asks for the area of the space. So I'm going to start with the area formula, which is A equals pi r squared. Well, it doesn't tell me the area or the radius, but if I know that the diameter is 30, then I can divide that by 2 to find the radius. So the radius is 15. So I'm going to plug that in here. 3.14 for pi times 15 for the radius squared. I'm going to start by doing 15 squared, which means 15 times 15. So that is 225. And then I'll multiply 3.14 times 225, and I get 706.5. And because this is area, it's measured in square units. So this is feet squared. Now let's look at number 7. Corinne is choosing from 2 pizza sizes for her party. The radius of the large pizza is 3 times the radius of the small pizza. So how do the areas of the 2 pizzas compare? Well, I know that for this, I would be multiplying each radius by itself. So if the radius of the large pizza is 3 times the radius of the small pizza, then it's actually 3 times 3, which is 9. Now, if that doesn't make sense, you can always just plug some numbers in. So let's say this. I'm going to give my small pizza a radius. So let's say that the small pizza has a radius of 3 inches. Well, that would mean that my large pizza, because the radius of the large pizza is 3 times greater, that means that my large pizza has a radius of 3 times 3, which is 9 inches. Well, if I wanted to know how their areas compared, then I could just plug that into a formula. So area equals pi times radius squared. Well, for the small pizza, that would be 3.14 times 3 squared. So 3.14 times 9. And that gives us 28.26. But then I would want to do the same thing for the large pizza. So for the large pizza, I'm going to do area equals pi times radius squared. So 3.14 times this time 9 squared. So I would need to do 9 squared first, which means 9 times 9, which is 81. So now I'm multiplying 3.14 times 81, which gives me an area of 254.34. Now, obviously, this is larger, but how much larger? If I want to figure out how much larger it is, I'm going to take my big area and divide by my small area. So 254.34 divided by 28.26 gives me 9. So that means that the large pizza is 9 times larger in area than the small pizza. Now, this is going to be true no matter what you choose for this radius. So here's what I want you to do. Find another radius. So say we started with a radius of 5. Well, if that was the small pizza, the large pizza is 3 times greater. So that means the large pizza has a 5 times 3, which is 15 inches. I want everybody right now to find the area of both of those and then figure out how many times greater that area is. And once you have that answer, put it in the chat. So you'll notice that no matter what you use for the radius of the small pizza, if the large pizza has a radius that is 3 times greater, it is going to be 9 times greater in area. And that's because for anything that we're doing, we're taking the radius and squaring it. So if it's 3 times greater, then the area is going to be 3 squared greater. Now I want you to find the circumference. How do the circumferences of the 2 pizzas compare? So you're going to do the same thing, and you are going to use a number for the radius of the small pizza, and then find the radius of the larger pizza and figure out how these compare. What you'll notice for this is that the circumference of the larger pizza is 6 times the circumference of the smaller pizza. Now let's look at number 8. Logan has 40 feet of yarn that she used to create a circle. What is the area of the circle that Logan created? Well, think about this. If she took 40 feet of yarn and made a circle, then that means that the whole distance around this circle is 40 feet. So that means that the circumference of the circle is 40 feet. Well, we need to use that to find the area. But before we can find area, we need to know radius, because we know that the formula for area is pi times radius squared. Well, we don't know that because we don't know anything except for circumference. So the best way to start this is to start with our circumference formula, which is C equals pi times diameter. Since our circumference is 40, I'm going to plug that in for C. Pi is 3.14, and I don't know the diameter. Now I am going to divide by 3.14 on both sides. And if I do 40 divided by 3.14, I'm going to get about 12.7. And these will cancel to leave me with D. So that means that my diameter is approximately 12.7, and we had to round there, but we would say it's about 12.7. Well, again, I cannot use that in my area formula yet because area needs the radius. But if I know that the diameter is 12.7, then to find the radius, I'm going to take 12.7 and divide by 2. So 12.7 divided by 2 is 6.35. So I'm going to use that in my formula for area. Now, area equals pi, which is 3.14, times radius, 6.35, squared. I'm going to start by doing 6.35 squared, which is 6.35 times 6.35. And that gives me 40.3225. Now I have to still multiply that by 3.14, and that gives me an area of approximately 126.61265. And these are measured in feet, so we're going to say feet squared. Now this problem did not specifically ask me to round to the nearest tenths, so this answer would be acceptable.